I'm back.
That's right. And today we got Mike Mandel.
Thanks for
Mike
having me.
Mandel of CompStak.
I don't. All right.
That's
Awesome.
it, man. You've been anointed with the.
Okay. Well, if you Google Michael Mandel, the may not apply to me. There may be another one, but
Nah, you're
wait,
like
that's actually so. If you Google Mike Mandel, are you like the second, the third, fourth?
I think I'm probably third. The number one is this guy who writes for Business Week.
Yeah.
He's an economist.
Don't you hate
Hey
that?
man, if you're in the top 3 Mike Mandels, that's pretty good.
No, but that sucks because there's a little bit of overlap there, right? It's business.
Yeah.
Like people are going to probably run into him when they're looking for you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's experienced.
Yeah, that sucks.
But I do own michaelmandel.com.
Nice.
So,
Huge.
You know, there's that.
Yeah.
So you're the number 1 Mike Mandel on michaelmandel.com, but number 3 on Google. You kind of average out at 2.
Yeah, there you go.
Already better.
Yes, exactly.
That's already better.
Oh my
but
God.
excited to have you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks
for coming down. Yeah, you made the big trek.
Absolutely.
So for all of our, me and Jack, are really big fans of our 15 listeners, as they're big fans of us. Why don't you tell them what you do? Give us a little bit about CompStak, and let's take it from there.
Sure. So I'm CEO of CompStak. It's a commercial real estate data company.
He's also the number 1 Mike Mandel at CompStak.
Yes, number 1. There are multiple Michaels at CompStak, but because I started the company, I get to be the number 1 Michael at CompStak. And before starting CompStak, I was a commercial real estate broker. So I worked for Grubb & Ellis, which is now Newmark. I was in New York City doing office leasing and data center brokerage.
Okay. Wow.
And left brokerage in 2012 and started CompStak. And started CompStak out of my experience as a broker because I was trading comps all the time with other brokers and realized that the way we were sharing data was really inefficient and kind of silly, and decided to create a platform where brokers could trade data and create a platform where people could find data in a more efficient way, particularly around transaction data, around comps.
Yeah.
Originally lease comps, now lease comps, sales comps, property data, and analytics. And so started the company in 2012, have continued to grow it since then. And now we cover real estate data across the country. And we have a network of about 40,000 commercial real estate brokers, appraisers, and research people and brokerage firms who share data on CompStak to get other data back out. And then we sell access to that data to commercial real estate investors and lenders and asset managers and people like that who use that data to make real estate investment decisions and lending decisions and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So 12 years at it. Platforms changed quite a bit.
It has, yeah.
I'll tell you, as a broker, I can tell you, finding comps is a constant struggle. I mean, this is just, it's such a pain in the ass. You would think there's a
reliable comps.
Reliable comps. That's right. Anyone
data.
can just come up with some random comps, or,
Sure.
you can find the loan data and kind of backfill how much a property might have sold for. But, in states like Texas where I'm active, it's a non-disclosure state. You can't just go to one place to get all comps. You got to use your network of, buyers, sellers, brokers, service providers, the gossip train to the extent you can count on any of that. And then, I'm imagining your service is helping to fill the void for a lot of folks out there, which is incredibly helpful. Tell us more kind of how it got off the ground, what it is you're doing. I mean, ultimately, I think we all see technology being something that's, you have to actually get with it or you're going to be left behind.
Yeah,
so
yeah, 100%. We actually started with lease comps, and you mentioned Texas is a non-disclosure state. Well, lease comps are not disclosed anywhere, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we started with lease comps because that's not publicly recorded anywhere. And what was happening is brokers were just trading this information amongst themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was finding, I would sit in our Monday morning meeting, in my firm, and we were just talking about random deals taking place in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I was working, as I mentioned, data center deals, or before that I was doing a lot of tech deals, and everybody was talking about the latest law firm deal or hedge fund deal or whatever. And I was like, I'm spending all this time sitting around hearing about stuff that's not relevant to me.
Yeah.
And, the idea was, let's just put all this information in one place to find what's useful when you need it. Right. And, now with sales comps, obviously, in a non-disclosure state as well, it's the same kind of virtue in that we're capturing information in Texas with cap rates and NOI, and simply just knowing that the transaction happened and knowing the sales price is valuable in and of itself. But the interesting thing is that it's not just about getting in with technology. It's in some cases it's just a matter of being willing to do what you've always done in a little bit of a different way. Everybody was already trading information. It's just about being willing to trade it online versus trading it over the phone, or via email or, in a meeting. But we actually, I think, identify the fact that individuals in the real estate community maybe aren't willing to just completely disrupt the way that they do business overnight. So let's just evolve the way that they do their work a little bit rather than completely disrupt it.
Right.
So, okay, yeah, just continue trading, keep doing what you're doing, just do it online. And no, you're not just giving this data out of the kindness of your hearts. You only can get data out if you put data in, right? We made it a gamified system where you can get out as much as you put in, right? And that made it just as fair as if you were trading offline. In fact, made it more fair because when you trade with your friend, maybe you give them a little more and they give you a little less, and you feel like it's not as fair. Or maybe the quality of what you gave was a little better than what they gave. Well, CompStak figures that out for you, right? We reward based off of the comprehensiveness of the data you give, the quality of it, the recency of it, and so it's a totally fair system, and it improves upon the way that people were already doing it, which when people understand that, they really appreciate. Yeah.
So you've been aggregating tons of data for the last 12 years, right? How have a lot of the automation tools, AI, machine learning, are you guys implementing any of that, experimenting with any of it? What's the role of machine learning, AI, and kind of in CompStak today?
Sure. Well, we've been using AI for years. We've had a data science team for nearly since the beginning, so AI is not new to us. Certainly, machine learning, which is one of the fundamental pieces of AI, is key to what we do. A lot of what we've done with AI has been around data normalization and cleanup, because we deal in millions of comps, which each one has give or take 15 to 30 data points each, and then every single transaction we get multiple times. And so we might get one comp 20 times, each one with 30 data points, and we've got to figure out what's what and find anomalies in the data and outliers, right? And we can use AI to find those outliers, right? Use things like machine learning and to identify what's right and what's wrong. One example I'll give you, for instance, is one thing that our users rely a lot upon is our competitive set algorithm that we use, which allows you to see which properties are most similar to your subject property. And we actually train that algo using supervised machine learning, where we actually were able to survey the brokerage community on which properties they thought were most comparable to a subject property. And that trained the algo to understand how to determine what were comparable properties. And then it actually uses unsupervised machine learning to look at the underlying data sets to then refine itself over time to make that algorithm better and better, looking at the underlying data. So for instance, that algorithm in a market like New York, when it's comparing comparable properties, if a property is very tall, it will rank to a high score of comparability to another tall building. And it will factor in the number of floors to a high degree. But in a market like DC, where everything has to be
same height,
shorter than the Washington Monument, right? Then that doesn't play into the algorithm, and it just automatically figures that out, right? So that's one example. But when people think about AI today, most people are thinking about generative AI, right? And in that regard, that's ChatGPT,
right,
or Gemini, or whatever the case may be, Bard, those technologies, and those are truly revolutionary, and they're trained off of tons and tons and tons of data. some of that data that is used to train those is great, high quality data, and some of it is complete and utter garbage, which results in hallucinations, which is getting better over time. But I think that positions us really, really well as a data company, because the quality of Gen AI and the results that it produces is entirely dependent on the quality that drives of the data that drives it.
Right.
And so where we're going to see, I think, a lot of innovation within, Gen AI are around models built on high quality data.
Yeah.
And so we're building new things now that allow you to use those tools on top of our data. Those tools are largely becoming, a commodity at this point.
Yeah.
But the data that underlies it is absolutely not a commodity.
Right.
Yeah.
So the data integrity is key, which makes a lot of sense, right? At the end of the day, the whatever AI platform is still just making informed decisions based on some software engineer who's saying, stay within these parameters, give us an answer, anywhere in a spectrum.
Are you looking to build sustainable wealth and achieve financial freedom? Viking Capital can help you do just that through multifamily investing. With a team of seasoned real estate experts, Viking Capital conducts deep financial analysis and data-driven asset management to deliver outstanding returns.
You guys have obviously been using data science, refining your data, coming up with hundreds of thousands, if not more, points, like you said, whether it's matching height comparability of a building or any other attribute. As you're doing that to refine the quality of your data, what tools are you guys offering through CompStak to make brokers' lives easier? For
us, it's all about the data at the end of the day, right? We create an open-ended hypothesis testing environment for brokers, at least, right? So for them, it's all about how can they filter down the data to reach whatever conclusions they want. And it's less about saying, here's the tool that does X, and more about how can you reach the conclusion that you're looking for. In fact, when we've tried to specifically give them a tool that does X, the challenge we found is that every broker wants to do the same thing. And so if you give the same tool to two different brokers to do the same thing and give them the same conclusion, then now you're enabling them both the same way. And so now they don't have an advantage over each other. So you want them to be able to use.
So what's an example of X? What's the best comp for this office property? What's the best sale
for
comp for
instance,
this office
at one point we worked on a tool where we gave leads to brokers every day. And the problem was that there's only so many leads that you can give. And if you're giving everybody the same leads, then you no longer are providing
So you want to give them
value.
the underlying data behind it so they can use it how they're
right.
going to
So
use
for
it.
instance, though, you can use CompStak and say, okay, I want to see every law firm deal that was completed in this submarket, that is expiring in the next 2 years, that's between 20,000 and 30,000 feet, that's, over the 20th floor. And maybe you can then pitch yourself and say, well, I'm the expert in law firms that are between this size, and I can then manipulate the data to show that this is where I'm an expert and leverage it in that way, right? And versus us saying, here's a list of everything that's expiring, and I've given that same list of everything that's expiring to everybody, and now everybody calls on the same list, and you call up that tenant, and that tenant says, yeah, you're the 10th guy I've heard from today, which in New York happens all the time. Right.
Yeah.
How do you guys work on kind of the verification of this data, right? So many, like you said, so many brokers are submitting information. I'm sure there's probably 50 guys right now who just saw lease comp. They're all submitting it. Each one's a slightly different. Maybe it's a different start date. Maybe it's a different end date. How do you guys figure out and triangulate, what's the real answer?
Yeah, well, you asked about AI, that's part of it, right? So what we call a human in the loop model. So it's a combination of technology and humans. So we have a team of analysts that review all this data, but how they know what to review is a function of what's been flagged by our technology. So the first thing I'll mention is that all of our members have a rating, sort of like your Uber rating. So if you are a brand new user on
Alex has a pretty good Uber rating.
4.9.
Yeah. How'd you manage that?
You tip really well.
Yeah.
If I take a $5 ride, I'll tip them like $60.
Yeah, but
you're gonna get a good Uber rating. Yeah,
but they don't know what you tip until after the ride.
that's my thing about Uber.
I tip immediately. I tip while I'm in the car.
What if you got a bad rating, but you don't know it, right? And like so, but you were gonna be nice and give them a good rating, but then you find out that you got a bad rating.
So what, you want to retrade your rating?
Yeah, I just think like in terms of Ubers and Lyfts, there should be some transparency before you go ahead and rate your. Okay, I digress, but we should probably.
You definitely digress. But going back to
sorry,
the actual
go
interesting
ahead.
point.
I was listening to one of your recent podcasts, and I thought you were going to ask me about my credit score. I was all prepared for it.
Yeah.
And who you're voting
That's
for.
at the end.
Oh, okay.
That's at the end. Yeah.
So where were? Oh, yes. So human in the loop model. So we're able to score our users. So somebody who's brand new to CompStak is not going to be trusted. Somebody who's been giving us data for many years is going to have a good score, presuming that their data hasn't been updated. Now, if their data has been updated by other users or by our analysts, their score is going to go down. It's going to be looked at more closely. So we get every comp multiple times. Every comp we receive an average of 3 times. In a market like New York, we receive every comp an average of 10 times.
Wow.
So if we get a comp from each of you, one of you has a low score, one of you has a high score, I won't say who's who.
Interesting.
Then
Jack's got the low score.
Then,
Naturally.
Jack's will be looked at more closely. And then we'll also we'll even look at the files that we receive. So for instance, another way we use AI. We actually use deep learning to look at the logos on the file. So if the file that came in with the comps has the logo of a certain brokerage firm on it, and we detect that,
wow,
and that matches with the brokerage firm that did the deal.
Wow.
That's going to have a higher credibility rating on that comp.
That's cool.
Than if not.
That's very cool.
Right? Certain file types tend to be more reliable than others because we get comps, in the body of an email. Some are in Excel spreadsheets, some are a PDF, some are a scanned PDF.
Wow.
All sorts of things. We've had people send us pictures of Post-it notes. It's wild. The other day, I saw on the desk of one of our researchers an envelope, and I thought it was a joke. It had somebody's name, and it said stacking plans on it. And I literally thought it was a joke. I opened up the envelope. It was a thumb drive filled with stacking plans that one of our users gave us on
That's
a thumb
amazing.
drive. But in any event,
and they get points for that of some sort. So when they provide comps, they're getting basically
they earn credits.
They earn credits.
Yeah. So they earn credits for sharing that data. So anyway, it's a combination of the technical means, the scoring. Our members earn credits for updating incorrect data. They lose credits if we've updated their data with better information.
What nerds going in there and correcting other people's data all
The guy
day.
who really wants good info.
He wants some good.
Yeah.
He wants some credit.
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. No, I mean, people really get a kick out of it.
I think it's a really cool concept. I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. And I mean, like I said, it's a real pain to keep up with market comps. I mean, no matter what, asset type you're involved in. Can we take a step back and just talk about AI and kind of where you see it going in commercial real estate? Because I think that first off, it's a huge buzzword. Everyone's talking about AI. They have now for the last 12 to 24 months. I see more and more folks on LinkedIn who have no business talking about AI.
And by the way, everything's AI.
Everything's AI.
Everything's AI because you have an add-on ChatGPT component.
That's right.
And all of a sudden it's AI. What do? We populate your credit card info into
That's right. You
form of a website.
You got to throw in the term AI and proprietary these days. Those two terms to stand out, I guess. But I don't. Anyways, my point is, where do you see AI going? I feel like we're getting to a point, particularly in underwriting, where in the next few years, 99% of underwriting and some of those more analytical aspects of the business will be done by artificial intelligence in some way or the other. Where do you see it going? And have you already seen us get closer to that point?
By the way, every financial analyst listening to this just shit themselves.
Everybody,
when you said that, all right? Which, take it easy, Jack.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
99%.
Well, there's just still at 1%. So,
I think that I still will come back to the fact that it's all about the data. You know,
Okay, yeah.
I think that AI underwriting with shitty data
It's
gets
going to
you
get you
nowhere.
shitty
Right.
results.
Yeah. So fundamentally, no one wants to see a black box model in the world of commercial real estate. No one ever has.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we've shown our users anything that's been AI driven in the past, they're always like, okay, can you show me the data that's behind this?
Mm-hmm.
People are a little more comfortable than they were before because they trust it a little more than they did before, but they still want to see the data.
Yeah.
And I actually think that it's gonna, even though they've become a little more comfortable, I think they're gonna become a little less comfortable. I think it's actually the pendulum's gonna swing back the other direction
Mm-hmm.
because everything's gonna become AI driven and automated, and people are gonna get a little more skeptical because they're gonna say, well, how do I know what to trust now? If
a good point.
everything's automated, what's right?
Too many options.
Yeah, it's like how do I figure out the fundamentals behind this? And then you're going to really want to understand the data behind it. So they're going to want to say, what are the fundamentals behind it? And then they'll trust it, right? If they believe what data is behind it, they will say, okay, I don't need to see your model, but I do need to see your data.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's where kind of, I guess, your strength comes in as well, is you can go back to the data that CompStak is actually providing at its core to look into that.
Yeah. And actually maybe, and maybe to some extent you need to see the model because you do need to believe in the assumptions.
Sure.
Now maybe the model can help you figure out the assumptions, but
Right.
there's always some question. I mean, what is your belief? What is your
Right.
conviction? And what is your level of creativity too? I mean, one thing I always come back to as it relates to this is I think that, as there's more and more transparency in data, as there's more and more consistency in modeling
Mm-hmm.
and around how everybody does it, right? If everybody's using the same model, and theoretically, let's say the data becomes fully transparent, everybody's using the same data.
Right.
Well, and everybody agrees on what the cap rate is. And
There's no market.
Then there's no market,
advantage,
right?
yeah.
Everything's transparent, which means that the only way that somebody's going to pay a different price for something is if they have a completely different outlook on how they approach it.
Right.
That's right.
And so that then means that creativity
Yeah.
rules the day, which is pretty cool, right?
Well,
It then
yeah.
means that the people who win are those who take an entirely different approach to how they think about underwriting something.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
that's
But that
fun.
creativity has to still be based on some data, right? I mean, you can't just say, hey, I think this trades at a 5.5 cap on its
Well,
exit.
I think to
without-
Mike's point, it does until it doesn't, right? If everyone is on a level playing field, right? What happens? It's not like every private equity business goes out, right? They don't all return their capital because they can't bid on something because the data says otherwise. So once you start finding alternatives as to how you transact,
Well, I do think
changes the market.
I do think it's all becoming. Maybe I'll use the word democratized a little bit. I mean, it's we're using a lot of the same models. We are using a lot of the same data. So I can see what you're saying. I'll tell you, as a broker, let me tell you one of my pet peeves. I'm just going to go here because it's no cap and to hell with it. But I think, you see something in the brokerage business that we call buying a listing. So you both probably know what that means, obviously, with your background. But for those that don't know what that means, when you are competing to get a listing, sometimes some brokers will, what we coin in the industry, buy a listing. They'll say, hey, we think it's worth $30 million. When every other broker is saying it's worth $26 million. You'll see some other assumptions some other brokers are using are just so out of whack with the market. And so being able to somehow compare and contrast those assumptions, I think is really important. I guess where I'm going with this is backing up those assumptions. And hopefully clients and owners and sellers and operators are actually paying attention to where that data is coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
That's my rant.
No, it's a good rant. Hey, have you ever played with any of the AI tools like on the architectural side? I'm sure you've seen whether it's deep blocks or something like that, where they're trying to size up a building, give you a massing, and show you, oh, this building's underbuilt, this one's overbuilt. Have you used any of those, or any thoughts on platforms like that? Do you see that? Do you think that's something that CompStak might do at some point?
I've seen them. I haven't spent a lot of time with them.
Sure.
I think it's cool. I think, for better or for worse, having come up in New York and been a broker in New York, I come at those things a little skeptical because New York is so complex when it comes to things like zoning and understanding things like that. And, I always assume you have to figure out the most complex use case. So, and having built a company that's national in scope, I'm always of the mindset that like, if you can't make it work in New York and then also make it work nationally, it's not really that interesting to me. And so what I'm skeptical of is, can you really make it work nationally? Can you deal with the, special zoning district and the commercial overlay and this and that and what have you? And so I think it's interesting. And then the question is just like, how scalable is it? Does it really work? So maybe it's a good starting point. Maybe it works well in certain locations. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah. What's kind of your focus with CompStak? I mean, where do you feel like you guys are at today? Where do you want to take this?
Ultimately, we want to be the leader in commercial real estate data. That's the goal, and we're chipping away at new data sets every day, and to be more robust and better at the data that we provide every day. So, we started with office lease comps in New York City, and then we expanded by market. We went into San Francisco, and then the Bay Area, and then LA, and then DC, and then Chicago. And I remember every market because every one we had to launch individually, right? Because we had to crack that chicken or the egg issue of getting our members to share data in those markets. And then we went into industrial and retail data. And then we expanded to sales comps and more property data, and then built analytics on top of it. And now more recently, we've added loan data and CMBS. And
you want to be a one-stop shop for a lot of these things.
Yeah. And because all these data sets are so complementary to each other, right?
Yeah.
Now you can go on CompStak and you could say, I want to see loans that are maturing that have, more than 200,000 square feet expiring in the next year.
And you guys could do that now.
Yeah.
Wow.
We also want to continue to be known for exceptionally granular, exceptionally high quality data, because that's what we've always been known for. Nobody has data as granular as us, and we've always been known for quality over quantity. So, we take it one step at a time, try to be really, really great at what we're doing. And the market rewards that, and the market is actually demanding it even more than before. One thing we're finding, from our clients right now, which has been interesting, is that they're going after what used to be considered more niche, esoteric asset classes in a way that they never did before. Our clients are some of the world's largest institutional real estate investors and lenders. And, it used to be these guys went after office, maybe a little bit of industrial, maybe a little bit of multifamily, maybe a little bit of hotel. And now they're asking us about industrial outdoor storage and cold storage and data center and single family rentals, and life science and medical office and student housing. And we're just like, oh my God, and we have to be good at all of them. Right.
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
Are you looking to build sustainable wealth and achieve financial freedom? Viking Capital can help you do just that through multifamily investing, offering a powerful way to grow your wealth passively. Passive investing with Viking Capital allows you to benefit from a lucrative world of real estate without the hassles of day-to-day management. Their team of seasoned real estate experts takes care of everything from sourcing high potential properties to managing them efficiently, so you can enjoy the returns without the stress. Which side do you have on in terms of AI becoming this? Forget the CRE industry for a second. AI as a whole, what's its role in the world? Do you see it becoming the all-conquering power? Are we going to be ruled by computers, or do you have on the side of too many limitations? Like, what's
are we
your
screwed?
prediction?
Are we like all out of jobs?
This is everyone's favorite debate, and honestly, a shocking amount of people who I've met, and a lot who I'm friends with are on the side of, oh no, we're done for. AI is the new king, and bow down and kiss your computer because he owns you.
I mean, I think in many ways we're owned by AI, and in some ways we're not. I think what's astounding about it is that no one anticipated the things that would be disrupted by AI, right? When you watch the Jetsons growing up, the things that we thought were going to be disrupted by technology, right, were, house cleaning and
robots,
by robots. And it's like, that's not what's happening. We're still hiring house cleaners.
Well, my house is getting cleaned by a robot.
Well,
my
yours
not?
Roborock,
my Roborock's doing a good job.
Marginally.
Amazon, I didn't even know this. Amazon has a robot now that you can go on. You have to like actually request to get access to buy it on Amazon, but it's an Amazon robot. And honestly, it doesn't really do much. It follows you around. It'll like,
that?
I don't know.
I already have you following me around. Why do I need a robot? Is it cheaper?
Follows you around. It will, you can talk to people on a video call, which
Yeah,
you
but
can
these
do
things
with
are
your-
largely still gimmicks, right? Like
Yeah, it's very
you
gimmicky.
know, and they provide some modicum of value, but
Yeah.
not meaningful
Well,
value. But like,
Elon's coming out with this like new. He's saying he's got a robot that
They do.
Tesla's coming out. Have you seen it? Is it a thing yet? I don't think it is.
No, it's a thing.
No, it's not. I haven't
Yes,
seen
it
it.
is.
Have
Absolutely.
you
is.
seen
the
a
Tesla,
Tesla robot? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Get the hell out of here. Have
David,
you seen it?
pull up the Tesla
David,
robot.
can you pull that up?
I think I
Yeah.
did see an image of it a while back. I also saw an image of the new Roadster that he was going to release years ago and still hasn't.
exactly. Same.
As well as
But
the
the Tesla robot's a real thing.
Hyperloop that hasn't been released,
Yeah.
and the self-driving car, which has also not happened.
By the way, when I worked at
but-
I worked at a REIT in DC where we sold the site for where the first Hyperloop stop is supposed to go.
Dude, that's a cool flex.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
neat.
know if it is because it never got developed. I think they might have even bought it back at this point. Who knows?
I don't know.
What I think people didn't anticipate is that what's getting disrupted right now are like
Yeah.
artists, right? It's
Yeah.
AI's creating art.
Dude, well, because they know they
writers,
know what's
it's creating
catchy.
like compelling poetry and like
So
I mean,
can I tell you something? My dad's birthday a year or two back, and the whole family was coming over, and ChatGPT I just kind of started messing around with, and in the car was like, hey, write me a poem for my dad. And then I said a couple things I really appreciate about my dad, I said make it rhyme, whatever. And we get to the birthday party, and there's like 30 family members around, and my now wife was there with me. And I stand up and I say this poem, and there was people like crying. They were like, "This is so sweet, Jack. I didn't think you had this in you." And meanwhile, like the whole time, I remember looking at my wife, and she's like in disbelief, like she knows I'm full of shit, right? She knows I didn't write this, but it was so well done by ChatGPT that no one.
And
no
then,
one
and
saw
then
that
your
coming.
dad, and then your dad took it and put it through the processor, and it said, "This is 88%."
No, he's like probably framed somewhere, and I'm that asshole who like didn't, actually sit down and try and make every
boy.
word rhyme. By the way, it's not like I still didn't think about the things I wanted to say. It just put it in
You just didn't say that.
a rhyme way. It just rhymed it, It's way off topic, but I still think.
Yeah, look,
it's-
I mean, but it does create new opportunity. I mean, they say like prompt engineer is like the new job, right? You have to know
prompt
how to
how
use
to ask,
AI.
what to
Right.
ask, and I think that, and you also need to know when AI is hallucinating, right?
Yeah.
Is
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
They call it hallucinating?
Yeah, my co-founder, who's our CTO,
Mhm.
he said to me that when he uses like the Copilot, for coding, he said, it's actually better for senior engineers than junior engineers, because a junior engineer will have it write up code and not know that the code is garbage.
Mhm.
A senior engineer can have it write up code and see, okay, some of this code is good, some of it is garbage, and have it rewrite the garbage code, keep the good code, right?
Yeah.
And work in partnership with the Copilot. But if you're too junior to know what's good and what's bad,
Yeah.
it's not helpful to
I wonder
you.
if that CloudStrike was it CloudStrike? Was that the name? of it?
CrowdStrike.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what happened. Some junior little coder was like, I'm going to use AI.
Well,
for
some
this.
senior coder didn't sign
Fucked it
off
up.
on the bad code.
That's right.
Um,
And then half the world closed.
yeah, it's really interesting. And back to the question, I don't think it's fair to ask a question without like taking a stance on it. I see how powerful generative AI could be, and AI in general. You look at some of the use cases today of AI, and it's like we're using it to get Donald Trump to like sing a rap song after he gets shot.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they
I'm
look
like,
cool.
this is the almighty technology.
Yeah.
Like this is what we're using it for. We're getting it to have
Yes.
Joe Biden talk shit about Donald Trump, and then
deep fakes.
Yeah.
deep fakes.
What are you concerned about deep fakes? I'm very concerned about it.
I
I
think
think
who's
it's the
not?
beginning of the end.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Deep fakes is scary, but it's scarier to me that you can't in like you and me walking around can't in real time
Decipher what's
decipher. You know, once the deepfakes get really good, it's like you need. Maybe we could do it quickly. Maybe we could quickly Google, oh, you know, is this real or not? But a lot of people don't do that.
You know
No,
what? Actually,
people
I'm
don't
actually
check
not
anything.
super concerned about it because more than ever, I think that people are doing a much better job of calling out that stuff than they were. Like, I feel like a couple years ago, some of this misinformation was spreading like wildfire. Now, like, you know, on Twitter, there's that little thing underneath the post where people immediately call out when something's bullshit.
Yeah.
And I feel like actually the more bullshit that's out there, the more that now it's becoming
People are more skeptical.
mainstream that people are calling it out.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually a little more comfortable with it now than I maybe was a year or two ago.
It's a good point. Back to real estate. Ultimately, do you think we're at a point though where, like I said before, the vast majority of what we're doing is going to be automated through AI? As long as you're just as long as you're making sure that
I think a lot is. And what I'm a little bit concerned about, what I'm not quite sure how do we figure out, is how junior people get trained in the industry.
Okay.
Because I think that like for senior people, there's still great opportunity. You've learned the ropes, you know how to work with the AI.
Yeah.
The AI will displace a lot of the junior work, the analysts who are doing a lot of this work. But how do you train up these people so that they can become the senior people?
Yeah, because the senior people will know at least the fundamentals of how to get there and how to kind of critically think about.
You're going to create new
different things.
roles, right? The roles themselves will be inherently different.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, maybe the reality is that like people will have to go to school. Maybe the reality is that like, you know, I think you guys were talking in the last podcast about like maybe education's less important. Maybe it makes education more important.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe actually you won't be able to learn as much about real estate on the job. Maybe it's going to be that you're going to have to get a real estate degree.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to want to train you on the job to do shit that AI can do. So you're going to have to get the degree. The same way that like our kids learn math in school by hand, even though it can all be done on a calculator in Excel.
Yeah.
But education has determined that it's important for them to learn how to do math, even though a calculator in Excel can do it, because it serves as a fundamental basis for other things.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to be the same thing for real estate. It's like, no, you're going to have to learn how to build a DCF, you know, in your Masters of Real Estate program, whether you like it or not, even though an AI model can do it for you when you're actually on the job, because you need to know how that model works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Give us some of your life. Like, what are you doing? What's your day to day? What do you like to come home to? What do you do on the weekends?
Yeah.
Kids?
I have two kids.
Yeah. How old?
I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old who's going to be, she'll be 10 in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
All right.
She's away in sleepaway camp right now.
Nice. Where, upstate or?
Right by the Cape in Massachusetts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So right now I've got one kid at home, which is interesting. You know, it's a whole different experience to go from 2 to 1.
Yeah. Right.
And he loves AI.
Two girls.
Oh, wow.
She loves AI.
Well, they're going to be AI pros. They're probably already good at AI.
They're
there.
They're good at all sorts of strange things. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 2 coffee shops right here. There's the
gentrified
coffee shop,
and then the hipster coffee shop.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And you know, I was asking Alex like, "Hey, where do you want to meet up?" He said, "Hipster."
Not the gentrified. Yeah, not the gentrified one, but the hipster.
I was
By the way,
confused.
our New York listeners, if you can guess where we are, there's a special prize that you'll win. We're on the corner of gentrified coffee shop and hipster coffee shop.
Yeah. It's really, this is so like authentic New York.
Yeah. But thanks for coming all the way over here to this undisclosed location.
But meanwhile, the cup from the hipster coffee shop is on the table.
Oh God!
So it's maybe a giveaway.
Well,
yeah, we should get like comps for this. That's right.
All right. Well,
Dang it.
We could be in the LA location.
But it's funny because this like, you know, gentrified coffee shop across the street, it's like that build out was, you're right. It's probably like
they spent so much
$1
money.
million build out. It's like a really trendy, cool looking modern inside. They sell their own swag. And then you go across the street to like what's supposed to be like a
where they're
OG.
trying but not trying. What did you say? They were like, like they're trying to be cool,
I
but
said they
worked.
were trying to be cool. And they were succeeding,
It
was just like, it was so weird. It was like, but it was so good.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So we just both ended up at the same coffee shop this morning.
You were the one, I think you had mentioned that some of the demographic there?
Oh my God. I mean, it was wild because
Yeah.
the people there, the people watching was incredible.
Yeah,
And
Incredible.
And I'm like sitting there drinking the most amazing iced latte. And this woman walks in and she's wearing a t-shirt and no pants. And then this
Wait, hold on. She's wearing something. You're saying no pants.
I mean,
she was naked.
it was questionable as to whether
Yeah.
there were any
The
pants.
show is getting way too
and
risque.
then,
We
and
need
then,
to.
and then this guy walks in behind her and he's wearing like a vest with no shirt underneath and covered in face
He was
tattoos.
really punk rock.
Covered in face
Really punk rock.
tattoos.
Yeah.
And then this guy, and it's like, who are these people? And then I start hearing their conversation, and he's like, I told them you got to sell at 2090, 2090, not 2120, 2090. And what was it? It was 2090. And he's like, yeah, we made so much money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what world are we
This
living in
dude's
right
like
now?
your biggest competitor. He's coming up with some
Yeah.
like AI competition.
I don't know
to
what
comp.
he's trading right now. And I'm like, well, the market hasn't opened. This was like 9 o'clock. I'm like, the market hasn't opened yet. Is
The
this
overseas
crypto?
market.
What is this?
Yeah.
I don't know. But like, it was
That's what's great about this place. This place is just unreal.
It's definitely fun down here. Yeah. The people watching is absolutely unparalleled. Speaking of which, I mean, do we tell them a little bit of where we were last night?
There's no rules on no cap.
Yeah. So we get invited to this event that's like, how should I put this? Kind of like a leadership seminar, like to teach you how to be a leader and run your own seminars. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, like
So
And then do they sell you on more courses on how to do this?
correct,
then after?
correct.
Nice.
So that's the general premise of what we got invited to. But it's an elevated one.
very
and,
nice.
And everyone here,
very nice.
you know, allegedly is very vetted, and they make a ton of money, unrealistic sums of money.
One
you know.
guy took 46 companies public.
That's
Is that what he said?
That's a direct quote. So anyway, so me and Jack at the end, mind you, this is at the top of One Vanderbilt, the Centurion Lounge.
Really
very,
nice. Have you been
very
there?
nice venue.
I've been to the top of One Vanderbilt, but not
the
the
Centurion Lounge. Super
But
cool.
I've been to that
The
the
bar.
observatory thing with
Oh,
with
yes.
the bubbles and the it's
Oh
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Super
cool.
So we're at the Centurion Lounge. We walk in, and I believe they call him the mastermind. The mastermind is the guy who
Everything's
who
a
runs this thing.
mastermind
Yeah.
now. By the way, in real estate too, have you noticed there's these mastermind meetups.
Well,
No-
you guys have a podcast, so
Yeah.
yeah, we're like,
you
I
must
mean, we're
also
part
be
of it now.
masterminds.
We're basically masterminds.
Weird,
according
yeah.
to your 15 listeners.
By the way,
My 15 listeners verify me as
I
as
love
a
the mastermind people. They're great. There's
Yeah.
nothing, no.
Yeah, so,
No
so
shade.
anyway, so if you know our personalities, which you're getting to know now, when I hear things like this, and when I meet people who
Miserable.
attend these things,
Can't stand it.
I want to claw my eyes out with both hands.
Yeah,
until
he can't
there's
fake it. He can't
so
fake
much
it.
blood
Yeah.
that I die.
Yeah, I'm 100% aligned.
Are
with
you like
Right.
that too?
1000%. But
Yeah.
I also would never even go to this event to
Okay,
begin with.
so Mike, you and I are aligned. You and I are aligned. But here's the other side of me is that I get the humor in these things, and it is funny. But Jack is
yeah, I might go just because like, I want to check out
Yeah.
the Centurion Lounge
okay.
and the One
So
Vanderbilt.
I was like, I'll go because Jack's going. He's a good friend. Like he really wants to see. Jack will go through the most painful of things just for the comedy of it.
Yeah.
Fair. Fair.
So inside, I'm playing out this whole like comedic like masterpiece.
And he's
I
running
think it's
bits
hilarious.
with people. They have no idea that he's joking.
That's right. Because
It's
I'm so
yeah.
sarcastic sometimes people have no clue. And it can come off just weird, but inside it's hilarious.
So as you can imagine, every attendee at this, and it wasn't big. There's probably like 20 or 30 people there.
yeah.
Every attendee is like a Instagram girl's bio from down here in this area. It's like model, actress, writer, poet, photographer, videographer, influencer.
Yeah.
So
There's a
everyone
lot of-
and
yeah.
thought leader.
and
Thought leaders. There's a lot of, by the way, a lot of words like crypto being thrown around.
Yeah,
AI
every single person
was thrown around a few times.
AI was thrown around plenty, and you know, at the end of the day, we realized most of them are just some form of like an Amazon drop shipper. Which okay, that's fine.
No,
but
it's really cool.
you know,
Yeah.
but I'm a real estate developer. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a teacher. I'm whatever. So you can,
Yeah.
so you get the type. where it really got funny is, so obviously they try to sell you the course at some point. And the course that was being sold here was north of $50,000 a year. Okay, that's a big course. I haven't taken this course. I have no plans to take this course
By the way,
yet.
can I just take a step back?
Yeah.
Everyone was really nice. The guy that was in charge of this, super personable.
Super personal, most charming guy.
Very charming.
Well, you got to be charming to get somebody to pay
No, right away I was
$50,000.
like, I almost signed up just like after the first handshake.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's, there's something about this guy.
I expected like a used car salesman. He was just.
No, he's great.
He was just the
Great
nicest guy.
I'd love to be friends with him.
But where it really got funny, right? So me and Jack, we do this thing where we start to have conspiracies of like where we are, and we conspire about everything and everyone.
Not you,
of course, but everything and everyone. So we're talking to the immediate set at our table, and it's a dinner format, so whatever. We're talking to the two guys next to us, and they're like caricatures of businessmen from 1970s. Like
3-piece suit.
Imagine you never went to school, but you watched Wolf of Wall Street.
Nice.
Yeah, or you watched the original Wall Street, right? With what's his name? Michael Douglas, right? And you're like, I could do business.
Yeah.
So you buy a 3-piece suit, and you're like, oh, what are you involved in? I have lunch, and then I have martinis at 2:00, and then I got
like
a drink
not real
in the
life.
office.
Yeah. Like again, like
I'm in
from
plastics.
the movie Wall Street,
Plastics,
but not
You're
from
in some
like
old timey industry. I made my money in molasses, like something like that. So we're talking to these guys, and he's like, he's an English guy. He's like, I live in Tokyo, but I was in Nashville. I'm going to Vegas.
Of course he would live in Tokyo.
And I was like, all right, so what do you do? I'm AI, but I also do crypto, and we have a data farm. I was like, I don't know what I still can't get an answer out of what this guy
we
does.
kept trying to push him in a nice way. I was curious, right?
Jack's running bits with him the entire time. The guy has no idea what sarcasm is. And then we're trying to... So we come across our conspiracy. We're like, are these people plants? Like,
actors.
Were they planted here?
We're convinced
to get a couple of people to buy this course.
Yeah.
Like, so we started to think maybe there's 2 or 3 people in the room who have the wherewithal to buy this $50,000 course for the year.
Yep.
Maybe this is like a caricature of a rich businessman who they think they can become. So they like put a couple of them in the room to get this guy to buy.
There's
a
like
course.
20 people in the room, but mind you. So I mean, I would venture to say 75% of them were actors.
Jack believes that literally everyone was an actor. But you think about it, right? We did our little back of the envelope math. If one guy buys that course, that dinner was
paid
free
for
and
easily.
then some.
Yeah.
So are you going to tell everybody what the name of this?
No. We're not gonna do that because in the very small probability that this is a legitimate operation.
15 listeners, 16 plus you.
16 plus you.
I don't think anyone's gonna. Anyways, and by the way, let's just maybe I'm sure that there's been some success stories with this group, and I don't know.
With that said, if anyone's interested in AI,
Trump University.
Yeah, if anyone's interested in AI and you want to learn more about AI and how to do business and not get your job destroyed by AI, Jack and I are launching a new course. Mike's partnering on it. He's a guest lecturer.
Mandel, Trump University, only $50,000 a year.
Yeah. You sign up today, you get a free t-shirt and a mug. 0% chance you'll lose your job to AI. Thank you very much. Yeah. Good night.
Thanks for coming on, Michael.
Absolutely.
We had fun.
Thank
this
you.
was a lot of fun. And
great.
I guess
thank you for your insights.
Yeah, and everyone has any questions, I mean, we'll have a link to CompStak too.
Awesome. Appreciate it.